I came back to India and traveled for a while, but eventually I knew I had to start looking for jobs before my savings ran out. When and why I started looking. So I moved to Mumbai and used my sister's office space so I could be in the right environment to apply for jobs. It took me 3 months to get the job I wanted and needed. In this video, I'll take you through my mental and practical journey. Brace yourselves. I started looking for jobs after traveling in India for about 5 months. A few people told me that I shouldn't take a career break because it doesn't look good on the CV. I'll give you tips later on in the video, but here's one piece of unsolicited advice now. Don't listen to anyone. Do what you really want. It's the most liberating thing, even if you mess up. I reached a point when I felt, okay, now I need to laser focus on job hunting. The first mistake I made was using UK methods to apply for a job in India. In the UK, that approach worked. So even in India, I was applying on LinkedIn, using recommended Indian job websites, speaking with a few recruiters who found my application, but it wasn't working. One day when I was at my sister's office, my brother-in-law stopped by when we were all eating lunch, and he said that the sheer population of India means that most CVs get filtered out. You need to meet people. Most jobs aren't always advertised online, but companies may still have an opening, and you will only be able to figure it out after speaking with them. He was right. Networking and contacts work in India. So I tweaked my methods. What I wanted and why. Before I get to the methods, let me tell you what I wanted and why. You really need to get this right unless you want to end up working in the wrong company in a toxic work environment and then blame all of India. I was very clear about the type of job I wanted because I had been burnt in the past. Before leaving the UK, one day I just took out my notebook, divided the page into 2 sections and wrote what I want and why, what I didn't want and why. So I was very specific about it. I had a clear vision. Now, before I even started applying for jobs, I was at this incredible trek in Himachal Pradesh. And I was discussing this list with a few guys, and one of them burst out laughing. Not in a mocking way, but because he genuinely found what I said funny. He said, "It's not going to happen. You can't get this in India." And then he spoke about gender biases as well. Fair, because he was coming from experience. But I chose to ignore it and be delusional. What I got and how. The process of job applications is intense, as you would probably know. Before coming to India, for about 3 months, I was applying for jobs in the UK because I wanted to switch to a different role. So I went through a lot of interviews. Let's say I interviewed with 50 companies. I got rejected by 40. The ones I didn't get rejected by, I declined because they didn't meet the criteria that I had defined. And also they were very similar to the job I was already in at the time. But in all the companies where I got rejected, I asked them for feedback, and you have to drop your ego and chase people to give you feedback. People are reasonable. Most of them got back to me with feedback. Yes, it made me feel bad, which is a pretty normal reaction to rejection. But I made a list of lessons that I learned from every failed job interview throughout my entire time in UK actually. So when I was applying for jobs in India, I always had that feedback and what I wanted and why document open on my laptop. For every interview I got, I looked at that feedback from a non-emotional and non-defensive lens and applied it. I used my LinkedIn network, friends in India, websites, contacts that I got through people, and yes, all of these things led to many meetings. Ultimately, I got 3 job offers. 2 of them were paying lower than what I quoted, but one of them agreed to the ask. But I couldn't accept that offer because they had a very inconvenient work hour schedule, and I was very strict about not choosing something that made me feel uncomfortable. Yes, these zero tolerances came from the trauma of working unreasonable hours in a company in the UK when my health completely went downhill. Bad work culture exists everywhere across the globe. The job I finally accepted is a crazy manifestation story. So I shared my CV with this guy on LinkedIn whom I met at a party in the UK, and he also briefly stayed in the same student accommodation. He worked for the Hong Kong branch of the company I interviewed with, so he shared my CV with his HR and it eventually made its way to India. I loved the vibe and the job type from day one. I went through several rounds of interview, but before I finish the story, let me tell you one other thing. So during the job hunting process, I interviewed with a startup in Bangalore and I got rejected. But when I came to Bangalore, my first thought was, wouldn't it be nice to live here? Okay, back to the story. So I got the job and yes, it met all my criteria. And just before accepting it, HR called me and said, we would like you to relocate to Bangalore for this position because the global digital team sits in Bangalore and we'll pay for the move. I accepted the job. The lessons for me from this journey were that your delusional self-talk and shamelessly doing what you want and feeling the way you like is the trick. What you want can and will happen in a way that you cannot possibly predict and through a sequence of events that you cannot imagine. 5 tips for job hunting. I've pulled out 5 tips from my journey that may work for you. They have worked for me and still do whenever I'm looking for an upgrade. How to set your boundaries. You have to set the tone for how people treat you. You don't want to seem too desperate during the job interview process. Even if you have worked on a presentation late into the night, don't send it at night. Send it during work hours. So let's say post 9 a.m. If you showcase and set boundaries, the employer is less likely to cross them. How to outshine the competition. When you are asked to solve an assignment for an interview, you want to answer the questions in a high level of detail. People should be able to visualize it, touch it, feel it. You must do more than they ask you. Enthusiasm, attitude, and communication skills trumps technical and job-specific skills. Those can be learned even if you're not naturally smart because you have the right attitude. Now, of course, if your role is too specialized, you do need a basic level of technical skills. But the point is that attitude trumps skills. This is how you receive more, whether it's a bonus or other benefits. So you don't have to lower your standards when you ask. How to be interesting. Think about someone from your workplace or social circle you like spending time with or look up to. I know people who are so interesting that everyone wants some of their time. It's because they get a lot of value from them. These people usually have many interests and passions outside of work, which enhances their personality. It makes them magnetic. They can talk on various topics. They have knowledge and charisma. You can be that person. How to carry yourself. Manners, how you dress, body posture, body language, actually listening to people, asking genuine questions and not just how was your weekend, and letting people speak are skills that AI won't teach you, and they are essential. Jordan Peterson is right when he says, stand up straight with your shoulders back. How to position yourself in the Indian job market. When you apply for a job, you have to look for the gap in the role that exists in India and explain it in a way that allows you to sell your USP by using their language so that it doesn't intimidate people. It's also important to mention that you plan to stay in India long term and won't leave again. For me, culture is very important. So I looked at work hours, reporting structures, line management, style of leadership during the interview process. And if people ask you why you returned, you can be vulnerable in a professional way. Be truthful, but your answer should include positive, future-pacing reasons. People will understand. Also, use the right channels. Speak to returnees like myself, or people who are already doing the type of roles that you want to do, and be shameless about sending cold emails to hiring managers. You just need to make those cold emails very thoughtful and specific. Thank you very much for watching my video till the end. Have a lovely day.